Basketball fans, it's that time of year again. The NBA is back. From opening tip-off to buzz beaters, BetOnline has you covered with the best odds, biggest promotions, and live in-game betting on all your favorite teams. This season, every game matters. BetOnline has every stat, matchup breakdown, live odds to bet on during those games, and it's not just the NBA. BetOnline has odds from, football, MLB playoffs, NHL, political props. That's right. In fact, guys, the Rams have a Thursday night football matchup against the Vikings. They are set as 3-point underdogs in the latest odds for this game. Make sure to head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet online, the game starts here. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to Bleav in Rams, part of the Bleav Network. Erin Coscarelli back with you. Be sure to do all the things I tell you each and every week. Subscribe, comment, rate, follow this podcast, follow us on all the socials. You can also catch us on Bleav TV. Guys, what a week 8 we're about to enter, okay? The Rams kicking off this week with a home game against the Vikings. I've got Tatum Everett here. I am so stoked to have her. She is the Vikings on-air talent. She's been with the team for 4 years. And we're going to talk about this game. But before we talk about the game, first and foremost, Tatum, how are you doing?
We're good. I
Yeah.
mean, it's talking to the guys in the locker room. They're very excited that this was a quick turnaround. They didn't have to experience the loss for longer than the 3 or 4 days that they're going to be doing it this time around. I think they're ready to get that bad taste out of their mouth on Thursday.
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround, and they're facing a Rams team that hasn't been great this season, unfortunately, and injuries are a big reason why. I think the Rams are hoping the quick turnaround coming all the way to the West Coast, maybe that'll impact something with the Vikings because there's not a lot of things wrong with this team. Before we get into the matchup, tell us a little bit about, first of all, how have you seen this team evolve this season now that we're heading into week 8? What are some things that you think they still need to improve on, and what do they do pretty amazingly?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. They start the game out really, really strong. That's what they've been doing so well for the first 6 games. I think they outscore their opponents. They've only allowed 3 points in the first quarter. They've scored over 60 points in the first quarter. So it's just kind of like where their bread and butter is. And then they have to be able to keep the lead and they play that bend, don't break defense for the rest of the game. I think that they learned a lot about themselves in this loss, probably more so than in the wins. I mean, it's kind of how it usually goes. I do think that this team is going to be a little bit, they're going to clean up their penalties. I think they're the second most penalized offense in the league right now. And it's kind of shaky to see that because you had a lot of pre-snap penalties. They do have that offensive line continuity. Aaron Jones looks like he is able to play through his injury. So that's really nice. And as far as the defense goes, I think that they are going to face maybe not as similar of an offense. However, the Rams run game is what's so good about this team. Kyron Williams has been so special, and I think that they are very aware of that after letting Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery run up a lot of yardage and some touchdowns on them last time. But if you think back to all the mistakes that they made on Sunday, it's very uncharacteristic of them this season. And I feel like to have not played your best game and still have been only 2 points away from a victory says a lot about this team.
Yeah. No, and let me tell you something. The Lions are a good team. For sure, the Vikings are a top contender in the NFC, only taking a loss. They were undefeated heading into the matchup. And like you said, they stayed competitive. They managed to stay in it. And I guess for me, what would you say was the biggest glaring issue against the Lions as they look to try to clean that up, like you said, heading into this Thursday night football matchup?
Yeah, they were getting into these situations where the Lions were in short downs, like they had short yardage downs. And so it was, that's where they don't do as well. If they are able to keep them in second and third and long situations, they do better defensively. And I think that they just have to be able to stop the run. I think the Lions were able to see that, Jared Goff was able to read that they are going to drop back in these situations and the middle was open and they were able to take advantage of those runs. As far far as the offense, I really think that they just need to find their rhythm and not lose it throughout the game. I think like having like a consistent 4 quarters of play. Justin Jefferson even said this week that this entire team hasn't played a complete game, like
Mm.
special teams, offense, defense, and so they're still looking for that, which scary for Rams fans,
That's
probably
terrifying.
because
Yeah.
the fact that they haven't felt like they've played in a complete game and they're like, what, 5-1? It's kind of weird. And again, I don't think a lot of people really were expecting this of this team,
Yeah.
to be frank.
Yeah. What do you mean by that? Expecting it from this team?
Yeah, I think that the team is well aware that no one really picked them. Kevin O'Connell has said like let people not talk about us. Like he goes into the locker room and he says let people not talk about us because we don't care what they say either way. We know what we are and how good we are inside this locker room. And I think you see that play out because they're a team that plays for each other. They're very close despite it being a lot of new faces, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And they look like they're having a lot of fun
Mm-hmm.
out there,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is a very underlying factor in professional football.
Yeah, as a broadcaster, and you said you've been with the team for 4 years, you get very close to sort of understanding what motivates, what drives. And if you look at both of these teams, one of the things that I've really found myself impressed by when you think of the Rams storylines is, and Sean McVay said it, he said, you don't learn about people when you're winning, when you're 4-1, when you're 5-0, you're learning about your crew when you're under these sort of set of circumstances, this type of adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been interesting to see the Rams, who uncharacteristically started the season this way, 1-4 heading into the bye, with a guy like Sean McVay.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to sort of like symbolize what this means, big picture, how it's relatable. And I think both of these teams are trending in sort of different directions. Obviously, you guys have one loss, and heading into our matchup against the Raiders, we had only one win. So it's interesting to see how these two teams, and now
Mm-hmm.
you guys are coming off your one loss. How will you respond on a short week, and
Yeah.
how you think the Vikings, like you said, they've created sort of this camaraderie within the confines of the locker room where, yeah, people don't expect big things from the Vikings, and then they just show up on game day and they let their actions speak for themselves.
Yeah.
How do you see this game play out? How do you foresee? Because you talk about Kyren Williams, he has been the lone bright spot. We're still
Mm-hmm.
waiting to get our two wide receivers back, in Puka and Koopa. Cooper is expected to play Thursday Night Football. Hopefully, everything goes as planned in practice. But Kyren has been, in fact, the big stat coming out of LA is he's scored a touchdown in 9 straight games, the most of any player right
Yes.
now in the league. And your team, looking up some of your defensive statistics, you've allowed the second fewest rushing yards per game and the fifth fewest yards per carry. I think the big question mark is how will you try to contain him, and and
Yeah.
and and how will our offensive line keep Matthew Stafford upright, because you also are very sack happy over there in Minnesota.
Yeah, yeah, no secret here. Brian Flores likes the blitz. And I think that he will be, I think he'll go back to that a lot when it comes to pressuring Matthew Stafford and knowing that this offensive line has not as much experience or continuity as it's used to. I think that if they're able to disrupt that run game, I think the game could get into the Vikings' hands pretty easily. But Kyron is so special, you just have to be
Mm-hmm.
able to stop him. But listening to Kevin O'Connell this week, there's so many storylines that also just tie him, offensive coordinator Wes Phillips, into that Rams family. I mean, they're all super close friends with Sean McVay, won the Super Bowl there before they took the job here in Minnesota. And, you know, they know how good Sean McVay is. They're
Mm-hmm.
not discounting this offense just because the line isn't as good as it used to be. Like they know how good Cooper Kupp will be if he is able to get back into peak form. And to be fair, if I was doing that, I'd feast in the middle, just like the Lions kind of did, where the slot guy, Cooper Kupp, is going to be could potentially be wide open in the middle if they send too many people or if someone doesn't do their job. So I think that the Vikings are going to key in a lot on being able to trust each other defensively and do their job so that they don't allow that offense to kind of get going. Because once it does, that's where they sort of see the wheels falling off. And you know, they rely a lot on change of momentum plays. You know, the Ivan Pace scoop and score. Andrew Van Ginkel has 2 picks on the season. They rely on those turnovers to really
Mhm.
shake things up as well. And then put the ball in Sam Darnold's hands.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, they've been a fun team to watch. I do enjoy when, the storyline of the team is they're a little bit underrated or the underdog.
Yeah,
And then, you have these sort of unsung heroes, the Sam Darnold story, and you see young guys really come together and, bring out the best in each other. And, they've had to do that with
hmm,
the Rams this season, right? Because we don't have Aaron Donald. It's like, this last game against the Raiders was their best defensive performance. But the thing I said in our recap, our post game recap is it's the Raiders. We had a backup. We were playing against Gardner Minshew, who was benched. And I think to me, that maybe is a boost for the defense. But we can't make the kind of mistakes that you make against the
yeah.
Vikings and think that they're still going to come out on top. Um, so then my question for you is on the flip side, maybe this will make you a little uncomfortable, but how do you think that the Rams should attack the Vikings, knowing you guys are really strong in all 3 phases, even though you say you haven't had a complete game? And I think that's absolutely
Yeah.
terrifying to hear that you guys still haven't had a complete game. But
Yeah.
if you are Sean McVay, and Cooper Kupp can play, which we are all expecting and hoping after he's missed,
Hmm.
I want to say at least 3 or 4 games now. It'll be nice to get a fresh set of legs out there. I'm glad they didn't
Oh,
start
yeah.
him Sunday. They were able to get a win, but this is an all important game for the Rams in order to stay in contention in that division, because the good news is the NFC West is no NFC North, and every team is sort
Tell me
of
about it.
like trying to figure it out on the fly with the 49ers and all the injuries, and no one's really run away with it. How do you foresee this Rams team try to attack the Vikings come
Yeah, kind
Thursday?
of like what I said a little bit earlier about attacking the middle, being able to get that run game going. They're going to need to create holes. I think if you dial up a lot of motions, if you're able to kind of deceive the defense to a certain extent and just take advantage of where you can, because they're not going to give you a lot. They really aren't. They're so versatile. I mean, a lot of their linebackers can play standing upright. They can play with their hand in the ground, and then they'll move an outside backer inside in the middle of the game. And then sometimes the inside backer is inside the defensive line is as a tackle. And it's just like you just have to be aware of everyone and what they're doing. I do think that, there is some tape out there now that there are things that you can take advantage of um, as far as what the weaknesses in the Vikings defense, but get a lead, uh, feed your stars, and get that run game going is really the best way to kind of combat what the Vikings are able to do.
Yeah, I love that. I know you are at the airport. You are a traveling woman. You've got a million things to do. So, again, thank you
No,
for
you're fine.
making the time. Before I let you go, though, I did want to talk about Kevin O'Connell because
Yeah.
he has been special for you guys. He's really seemingly
Mhm.
made his mark as a coach. In your opinion, what makes Kevin O'Connell so effective as a coach?
Gosh, I feel like this might answer hopefully won't take too long, because he just has been such a breath of fresh air to this facility. He's such a player's coach, and and practices what he preaches. He's very honest about how he feels about players. I mean, I think one thing Sam Darnold says is like, Kevin always tells me how proud I am of me. And
Mm,
people all the time talk about um, what is it about Sam Darnold? Why did the coaches believe in him, and
right.
what's with this turnaround? I mean, a lot of that is just belief. Like, Sam Darnold has someone who tells him all the time, I believe in you and I'm proud of you.
Mm,
And it does wonders for his self-confidence. I mean, you think it wouldn't be that simple, but sometimes it is. And I think that he just has this way with his players. He Listening to him talk, on and off the record, is just such an intelligent football mind. Listening to him dissect situations that they were just in and talking about what plays he was going to call, he just has that it factor. He gets it. He's
mhm.
super smart. He's great with the players. And I think he attracts people that are similar to him, because that coaching staff is beloved in the building, and the players, like, they just seem to have a lot of fun out there.
Hmm.
And um, I do think that he does get on them for like the pre-snap penalties and things like that, but it's more of an approach of, this is what you're doing well, and this is how you can get better. There's not a lot of yelling about it or anything.
Right.
He just seems to connect with them. And I'm sure you guys saw that when he was on the offensive coordinator in LA, and why he does so well in his job interview and got a job right after.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that, and I think it's so true. It's when you have a coach who really does believe in you. That's all you kind of need sometimes. It is simple, but it is true. You're seeing it like Pete Carroll with Geno Smith, or even when I was with
Yeah.
the 49ers and Jim Harbaugh went with Colin Kaepernick. I want to say it was back in
Hmm.
either 2012 or 2013. And moving on, from this Alex Smith beloved. I mean, that's not an easy decision to make for
Um,
you. How have you seen, well, like initially when you saw that
mhm.
Sam Darnold was like the chosen one, what was your reaction to that, truly?
I was like, clearly they see something. I
Hmm.
think that it's no secret that Kevin is a quarterback, thinks of himself, and is a quarterback expert. Like,
Hmm.
having played the game himself, I think a lot of what he does is modeled after what he's been through, right? Like, the only way that he knows how to coach is through his own personal experiences. And so when they brought him in, I was like, okay, I mean, if they think this is it, right? Like, I hadn't really seen Sam Darnold perform as much. I mean, you saw him as a backup in San Francisco for a season, and he had some really good games when he was with Carolina and the Jets, but it was just very up and down. And, personally, I thought, like, if anyone can make this work, it's going to be Kevin O'Connell.
Hmm.
It's going to be his offensive coaching staff. So, I've come to believe in the last few seasons of being in this building, like, first of all, I'm no football expert. I've never played, clearly. So I'm going to believe what they want to do. I'm going to believe in what they think. And so I bought in, because I
Yeah.
think that I understand how they go about things and how they get results. And so I'm not really all that surprised. Um, would I have thought that's who they would target in the offseason? Probably not, because I don't think it would have
Hmm.
crossed my mind. But like I said, like, they seem to know what's going on. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm believing in.
I love that though. I really do. I love when you look outside the box, whether it's on the football
Mhm.
field or it's in regular life, and taking a chance and then seeing the payoff happen. It's
For sure.
exciting. It's awesome. It's symbolic. It's all the things, and
We love a good
makes
comeback story, right?
totally. Yeah, you do, and it makes for a
Yeah.
great. It makes for a great story. It makes for
Hmm.
all the underdogs have someone to root for and want to see succeed. And this game is going to be great. I'm excited to see how
Could be a
both
good one.
teams respond. Sean McVay always, like you said, has something up his sleeve. He's
I
going to
think it could be
compete.
a lot closer than people think. I really
Hmm.
do. It's a
Yeah,
short week for both of them. Everyone's dealing with injuries.
yeah, yeah,
Let's just hope I just always hope that it's a fun one to watch, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll see how
Yeah.
that goes.
Yeah. Prime time Thursday night football against the Vikings. This is Bleav in Rams. Tatum Everett, who works as the on air talent for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm so excited I got to talk to you. Thank you for making the time. Enjoy your
Of course.
travels. Okay.
Thank you so much, Erin. This
Okay.
was super fun. And, hopefully we'll catch up soon. Who knows? Might
Yeah.
see each other later on in the
Yes.
season.
Hope so. Thanks, Tatum.